sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best? Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and the prom queen.
Welcome to the best soccer show. The best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. Best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Jason Davis, Jared DuBois in the house on a Sunday night. Jared DuBois, what's up, man?
Not much, dude. Just trying. I was literally. I had one of those I shouldn't be working on my own house experiences today. So I had a clogged sink, right? So I think, okay, I'm gonna be a man about it. I'm gonna be a man. I helped my dad unclog sinks when I was like youngin, right? But like see, our house was like here, like 1940s and stuff like that. Literally, this was the setup back in the day to unclog a drain at the DuBois household. I'm about 12. My brother's I'm probably about 14. My brother's probably about 12. He's on the roof, sitting on like a pipe with a sandal to keep any water from coming out the top. I'm at the one side of the sink with my dad with the other sandal, like trying to clog the drain. My pops is working the main line, and my mom's at the hose outside, right? So it's a 4-man operation, and no matter what happened, this is what happens every time. At some point, my dad gets mad at my mom for not turning the hose off fast enough. But it's like off. And like even if she turns it off right when he says it, the water's still coming down the line, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a whole big setup. So I tried to do it on my own today. I got one of those little hose bladders. You ever seen those? Like that, they kind of fill up the pipe and force it's like
when you get your pipes cleared in your heart, they do the little
Well, I hope no one lets me play with their heart next time, because this is what happened. I get the dang bladder in there, but I guess I didn't get in there all the way. And I told my wife. My wife and I are on my kids' little Nerf walkie-talkies. She's outside working the line. And I didn't get the bladder all the way in, so when she turns it on, it starts blowing up like a balloon because there's nothing to push against because I didn't get it all the way in the pipe. It explodes on me underneath the sink. It just spews water everywhere. It hurt my hand because it blew up so hard.
Yeah, I grew up in a household. I don't know how your dad was, but my dad was like the super handy guy. Okay, like he could basically
handy.
He could fix anything. He built his own stuff. Like my dad is the guy who would like build the TV cabinet. Like that's the kind of guy my dad was. And like when my brother and I first got our first place and like wanted a bar, he was the one that helped us build the bar. Like that was my dad's thing. But he's also a control freak, and there was no teaching. Like if I would help him, there's no teaching happening. It was basically like do this, and if I did it wrong, he'd take over. And I'm okay, but I think it's like a tradition in the Davis family. You get handy, but you don't get handy because your dad taught you. You get handy because you learn on your own.
Yeah, I learned today. I learned to read the back of the instructions on the packet of the bladder I just bought, because if I had read it, it said, make sure you get it all the way in the pipe before turning it on.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So we're here on a Sunday evening. There is soccer to talk about. There's some things out there. There's some news. I think the lead story for us, and I addressed it on Soccer Morning, but there's plenty to delve into here, Jared, is the Chivas USA situation. And by the way, you just hit the phones. The phone lines are open, 201-430-2378. Had somebody try to call in during the open. Hit us back, whoever that was, 301. Hit us back. We'll definitely take all thoughts on the Chivas situation. The league has bought, and let me say this. Let me say it this way, because I had some people coming at me during the week, Jared, when this news broke. MLS has bought out Jorge Vergara's operating rights for the MLS-owned franchise known as Chivas USA. That's the way we should be saying it, right?
I think I listened to a portion of the Soccer Morning conversation you had, and I think one thing that you hit on really well was the fact that it's franchise. You know, like if the league still owns the teams, you know, they just franchise them out to. They don't own the stadiums and some of the property and stuff like that, but they own the intellectual property and the operating properties.
Effectively, what happened is this is like a company with a board, and all the owners are board members, and they all decided they don't like Jorge Vergara, or he decided he wanted out. However, this went down, and they basically just bought out his portion of the stock. That's essentially what happened here. Now they assigned that portion of the stock a franchise operating rights agreement, but that's really how this works. And people want to be technical about it. I'm fine with it. I think we should just talk about it in regular sports terms. But if people care that much, 301 or 310, you're on the air. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about.
Hey, it's Dan from California. What's up, Dan?
No, it's just that it was an idea that could have worked. I mean, honest to God, it could have worked. If they called it anything but Chivas USA, they called it CD Los Angeles, it would have worked. They could have worked if they put the money into it.
It's a matter of bad organizational, bad operations, bad management, a poor organization, an owner who said a lot of things that were nice but never really followed through on them, who seemed to treat the team as not even an afterthought, sort of like, oh, that's the thing I have up there. Let me like just throw some throw a little bit of shade that way. I don't know. It was weird. It never really. I think the Chivas thing was a part of it, Dan, but I don't know that was ultimately the thing that killed this. And now we're gonna get a new team. I mean, they're gonna be called something different next year.
Hopefully. Oh, just one last thing before I go. The National Soccer Coaches Association convention. I found out that at last we're going to get it in 2017.
We're going to what?
Where is this, Dan?
We're going to get the soccer convention. It's going to be at the convention center in 2017.
In Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
nice.
true. I think that's been out there for a little while. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's something that means Jared can attend a draft and experience that.
I'll sit right next to him.
I appreciate the call, Dan. Thanks a lot, man. That's our friend from Dan from California who leaves a lot of voice.
There's other Californians out there listening. I do want to take a little bit of a sample, a test sample. Like if the new Chivas brand, whatever it is, whatever LA brand it's going to be, moves someplace closer to where you live, would that alter your allegiance to possibly the Galaxy? Because for example, I drive, as you know, I drive a good hour to get to Galaxy games. If they put one of the proposed sites that Chivas was looking into, and I don't know if the new LA team will as well, was the Pomona Fairgrounds out here, which is about 15 minutes from me. That would make it really interesting if it was do I want to keep supporting a team I've been supporting since '96, which is not really. It's my MLS home team because it's the closest one to where I lived for 20 some years. If a team plops down within 10 miles of where I live, am I selling out if I go to that, or am I actually being true to being something even closer to home for me?
Well, I think you can. That's a good question. That's a very
now with Chivas playing in the Home Depot Center, there's no reason for me to change. It's the exact same thing, and it's a different, newer, odder version of the MLS team that was already there. But if they move out and make some different area of Southern California their own, people are going to have to ask themselves some serious questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know that there's a comparable situation in American sports. It's kind of
New York City FC.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is outside of soccer, I'm not sure there's another comparable situation in American sports. We've had teams move around and we've had relocations, but I don't know that we've had a situation where, I mean, I'm sure people have turned away from a team they rooted from from afar to a team that moved into their, this is a bad example because I don't think any Baltimore Colts fans actually were Indianapolis Colts fans. But let's say you were a Baltimore Colts fan, the team moves away. You are still a Colts fan, and you root for them, but you're not going to the games. They're not an hour away like you are from StubHub Center.
Yeah.
So when the Ravens come to town, and you switch the Ravens, it's not really the same thing. So I'm trying to figure out if there's another comparable situation. I'm trying to just rack my brain here for.
I just think I keep going back and forth on what the right direction for this new LA team is going to be, and you need to go one of two ways. And here's the way I see it: either you go grand and you go because you got to differentiate yourself from LA Galaxy somehow.
Well, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So either you go kind of on a larger macro scale and you take a region, either you go Southern California United or something like that, where you're trying to unite all the different counties of Southern California, or you go something like Orange County. Like there's Derby County, there's Knotts County, there's other county, there's kind of history to calling a team a county kind of team as well. You can go Orange County.
Sure.
Or you need to go the complete opposite direction. You need to take over a small neighborhood or niche part of Los Angeles. So Los Angeles is it's like New York in that there's all sorts of these little areas. Like, take for example, you can go something like if you can get a stadium in this area, Griffith Park Rangers or something like that. You can go. I'm just throwing stuff out there to you. There's Echo Park, there's Silver Lake, I mean, there's Venice, Westwood Villagers. I mean, you could be the Westwood Villagers if you wanted to. I mean, there's all sorts of these little districts of LA that are probably notable enough that you could attach to them.
Yeah,
but
I don't think
the key thing is you got to make something intimate and personal for these people.
Well, I like that. I like intimate and personal on a general basis, but I don't know that soccer is strong enough. Professional soccer is strong enough where you can sort of limit yourself to the idea that we are the neighborhood team of this area. And yeah, maybe there's 500,000 people that live in that area, but I just don't know that you can do that. I think you have to label, you have to give yourself an identity that appeals.
You tell me you would want to see the Reseda Cobras?
No, I don't even know where Reseda is.
It's where the Cobra Kai live.
Well, okay. You bring up a good point. Let's say instead of NYCFC, which is the other way to go, that's the grand scale, right? So they get the MLS sells a team, sells a franchise to Manchester City, and they decide we're going to be New York City FC. We're going to be based in the city. They could just as easily be the Bronx something or Brooklyn whatever if they ended up in Brooklyn or Queens or wherever. Yeah, but they've chosen to be New York, just like the Cosmos, which was a legacy, and the Red Bulls are New York, even though they play in Jersey, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't know that there is a demand enough to be local, because then then you have to wonder, does if you are local to one county, one area, is there people from outside of that area going to really attach themselves?
Here's another way of looking at it. They could NYCFC, the Los Angeles Galaxy, by if the new owners could actually find development and make a stadium in Los Angeles, you could flip the tables like the New York Red Bulls had it flipped on them. Oh, they're not really the New York team because they play here. Los Angeles Galaxy wouldn't really be the the LA team if they're playing in Carson. You could flip the tables if you could get your team in downtown Los Angeles somewhere.
Yes, you can stake your claim to being LA's true team if you are able to get that done. That's a long way to go. Obviously I like, I want as much investment and as much into this as possible. So of course I want somebody with really big money, at least AEG money, and willing. It's not necessarily about the money, it's about the willingness to spend it. So somebody with big money to step in, buy this team, build them a stadium somewhere in downtown LA or in close enough that they can be LA, and then really challenge the Galaxy on toe to toe as being LA's team. I don't know what they would call themselves, but it'd be interesting. 225, you're on the air.
Hey guys.
What's going on, dude?
I just wanted to say, Twitter's blowing up right now with that whole, I don't know if y'all seen that away jersey yet.
Yeah, I'm about to get us to that because that seems to be the only thing that people on Twitter want to talk about at the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, it is all over the internet all the time looking up, trying to get these, these latest leaks. And I'm big on these jerseys. And that one out there right now is the fakest thing.
It looks pretty damn fake to me. I don't know why they would go blue top third and then red the rest. Nike doesn't do red very often, so I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see. We had on the agenda to talk about the home leak, which is the opposite of that one. It's boring. Nothing's happening in it. This one there's a chevron and it's red and it's white and I actually don't mind this, by the way.
I don't mind it, but let's call it what it is. This is like a superhero knockoff. I mean, this is like a superhero's uniform made into a soccer kit.
Okay, it's sort of like the version of that Mexico kit that just came out that they actually released before the New Zealand series. They weren't positive they were going to make it, where it's got like the weird. It's got some weird chevron like action happening up top.
It looks like it's a member of the Fantastic Four should be wearing it. Okay. If you put the number in a circle, if you were the number 4 on the U.S. national team and you put it in a circle right in the middle, wouldn't it look like you play for the Fantastic Four?
That'd be kind of badass. Actually, I'm fine with that. I like interesting. I don't, just make it the reason I have a problem with the white one is it's boring. I don't mind interesting. I was the guy who said the Where's Waldo kit was actually kind of cool and might be, if you kept it, sort of an iconic American look, but now they've already dumped it because that's the way Nike works. That's the way soccer works. Got to dump. Can't be Argentina. Can't be Italy. Can't be, I don't know. Who else? Brazil. Got to be different every single time out. You got anything else, man?
And that was it. I mean, it's just the picture looks really pixely, and that's actually the picture's based on. And that was the guy who posted that one with the Centennial crest. Like it was 2 jerseys. They had the Centennial crest, and he was like, "Oh, these are the new jerseys."
Yeah,
But those are very
the same guy who I happen to share a surname with. I'm not gonna give him any Twitter love here, but the guy I happen to share a surname with him, and Brian Strauss is on Twitter right now pointing out the guy he leaked some other stuff last September that said it was for next for the World Cup that had the Centennial crest. He was all excited. We're keeping this. Well, that's obviously not true. Not keeping the Centennial crest. Treat. Thanks for the call, man. Treat every treat every leak, and I'll say this about the home one too, which I can believe because it's right up Nike's alley with the U.S. But treat every leak with a skeptical eye. Just listen. Chill.
Let's just be totally irresponsible here, and let's just play as if both of these things are for real. Let's just be irresponsible. Let's no disclaimers, no nothing. Okay, this is the home and this is the away. I kind of get why they went two different ways like this. If this is the way, you got the super vanilla, easy to sell, anyone can wear to any kind of occasion home jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. You can wear it to the country club. You can wear it out. You can do whatever you want. Okay. You can play tennis in it.
Play a quick 9. Yeah. Go ahead.
Then you have this one where it's like you can wear it to Comic-Con. You can wear it wherever you want to wear it. I mean, it's a very bold flip from the very conservative home look. So I kind of get if you're going to go super vanilla on one side, you go kind of adventurous on the other.
I want a balance, meaning if one is going to be, I just want to, I want a balance with some interesting in it. So if this was really the case, and if we're treating this as both of them are legit, the home is boring. The way is what the hell. I'm fine because in the end they sort of balance each other out. I mean,
you know what I love about this away look? It's totally made for dudes that are athletic. Check out just where the chevron. It's like pointing between the pecs. Like it's. You think Oguchi Onyewu in this?
Yeah.
Think how badass he's gonna look. He's gonna look like a superhero in this. His pecs are gonna be perfect. The chevron's gonna hit right on the sternum.
Just accentuate the bust line, doesn't it?
Yes. I just think Nike should go one step further. Go one step further. Just go ahead and draw in ab lines.
Yeah, do that. I look. Friend out in Seattle, Lick It P has already put it on Captain America. Look at that. There's an image on Twitter right now. We need to retweet that, Trev. The shield and everything. I don't look. I'm not the jersey. I'm not the guy who gets all worked up over jerseys. I'm fine. Like I like looking at them. It's cool to kind of judge them, I guess, but I just don't. I don't really.
But here's the thing: if you're gonna make someone pay $100 for something, you better make it right. That's my only thing with it. Okay, like listen, I may not be a guy that's gonna go out and buy it. I don't know if I will. I've got most. I mean, I usually buy every 4 years one U.S. national team jersey like that, and I keep it for 4 years. And I don't buy all the ones in between. But if I'm going to shell out $100, you better be giving me a good product. So I think it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to talk about it as if it's important because you have thousands and thousands of people that are going to buy this, whether it's good or not, because they feel they have to pluck down the Benjamin to support their team.
There's also a viral element to this from a marketing perspective. I mean, let's not put it past people at Nike to float things just to see what they get back. Wouldn't you do that? I mean, wouldn't that be the way to go if you're trying to figure out what you want ultimately to sell? Don't you think that that's something that somebody has come up with in the past? I mean,
I think maybe you got it down to 3 looks. You leak one, see what the response is, and then that's not the one we. It's kind of like you would do with something like Miami Vice. You leak out an emblem, you leak out a color and a name, and see what the response is, and then Keith Olbermann gives you the okay, so you go with it.
Right. Is that what happened? I did not watch that.
I didn't watch that? Keith Olbermann was kind of a fan. He was like, listen, of all the stupid things we've ever named teams, this isn't that bad.
That's pretty funny. Look, they could leak something that's sort of like it, but not exactly like it. I don't know. Again, the whole leak, it's not that I don't care about the jersey once it comes out. This is me with the same thing with transfers. I just don't have time for worrying about it or criticizing it or getting all worked up about it if it's not going to happen. Show me when it's done. When it's hanging on a rack in a store and I can buy it, or the players are wearing it on the field, that's when I'll go, okay, now I can sit here and say, well, I like it or I don't like it. Right?
Yeah, I listen, the white kit's not going to pop off a hanger. This blue kit's going to pop. This blue kit you're going to notice from across the way. You're going to be like, I got the body to pull that off, or I don't got the body to pull that off.
You mentioned numbers. Like, you don't know what the numbers are. Remember we had the number issue with like the color was off and you couldn't see the numbers on television and all of this stuff. I don't know. All right,
you know, it's interesting though. You're not going to get a number over the breast because you have the U.S. soccer symbol and the Nike symbol. You're either going direct center above the chevron or direct center below the chevron, and below the chevron might be too low. They may have to go above the chevron with this.
Maybe it could straddle the chevron, but could you do that and have it look decent? I don't think you could, right?
I know. I think you got to be symmetrical somehow. You can't go too crazy.
Yeah, I'm not with this. I mean, I'm not with this as being the actual jersey. I just don't believe it.
What bothers me is that it's going to have to be a different numbering system than the home look, because the home look, you're going to want it over the breast. You're going to want that home one over the breast because there's so much empty space. It would look good right there.
What is happening here?
What? What else do you call that area of the shirt?
No. It's not that you're talking about breasts. I have no problem
that I'm
with
grabbing my own?
That is, whatever. Love yourself. It's fine. This fashion talk that we have gotten ourselves into.
That's new on this show. That's new. You have drops for fashion, sir.
I do? Which one do I have for fashion?
Sweater vest.
Oh, right. That one.
I wouldn't be caught dead in a sweater vest.
Well, that's just good advice. I mean, come on. That's just smart. All right, let's come back to Chivas USA for just a second. By the way, phone lines are open on the jerseys that are leaking or Chivas USA or anything else for that matter. 201-430-2378. And just a sort of a tease where we might talk about the MLS referees potentially going on strike, although what they did doesn't necessarily mean they will. There's news out of D.C. on the stadium front, at least potential setback for the stadium. And Erik Palmer-Brown back in the rumor mill again, the young player, the 16-year-old from Kansas City, who may or may not be going to Juventus now or 18 or somewhere. I don't know, whatever. All right, so Chivas USA. The one thing I hit on Soccer Morning, Jared, and I don't want to beat this topic to death, but I wanted to get your input here specifically. Jared DuBois, Rapier Witt. What are we going to call him this year? I'm not calling him Chivas USA this year if they're not going to be Chivas USA next year. And Vergara is out. Let's wipe the slate clean right now. What are we calling him right now?
You know what? I hadn't really thought about what I'm going to call him. I was just going to call him Chivas USA, to be honest with you, because
I feel like we should just go ahead. Look, the guy who was responsible for that name, who owns Chivas de Guadalajara, is out of the picture. Let's wipe the slate clean starting now. We're going to have a brand new identity next year, a legitimate one. We can have fun with this one.
Galaxy 3? I don't know.
I had that one a couple of times. Somebody suggested that one a couple of times. Our boy Erik, I think he said LA Goats, which is fine with me. We can call them the LA Goats. I mean, you could use the goat thing even though it's tied to Chivas.
I have no problem calling Chivas USA for one more year as long as everything comes out right on the back end. That's who they're going to be. They're going to wear red and white. They're going to wear red and white. They're going to look like a Chivas team. I mean, we're kidding ourselves if we want to do something different than that. I think, honestly, calling them Chivas USA for more years is kind of punishment enough, isn't it? It's the scarlet letter of MLS.
That's the thing. I don't want to punish them, and I'm happy for their fans. It's the ding dong, the witch is dead time for their fans. Shouldn't they embrace something else to call their team to get that bad taste out of their mouth of the last 7 years, 8 years?
I don't know, the MLS, the MLS city buybacks. I don't know what you're going to call them.
Okay, all right. You haven't put in any thought.
The bailouts.
Actually, no, I like that one. That's not too bad.
Chico's bail bonds.
The LA bailouts. I mean, this year is going to be interesting. They've got a good. I think both of us are very high on Wilmer Cabrera as a coach. They've signed a couple of interesting players, Bofo Batista, Luke Moore, the striker that's coming over from England. They've got some. They'll have Cubo Torres for a little while. But beyond Mauro Rosales, but beyond that, it starts to become, what can they do in this lame duck year? And then
what I'm really worried about is the long-term impact is going to be felt by the complete just pillaging of their youth academy. I mean, they've lost. Yeah. I mean, they lost their coach to LA. He brought over players with them to LA Galaxy. Chivas USA had a pretty good thing going on with their youth development, and that has taken a huge hit. Whatever is going to happen from the ownership level to buy players or anything like that, they're going to get knocked back 3 or 4 years in development. And that's what really kind of scares me. Luckily, they live in one of the biggest hotbed for soccer. They can find guys. And they may find guys that have fallen through the cracks, but they invested a lot of time on some of these kids, and someone else, namely the Galaxy, is now going to reap the benefits of the dollars they put in. Yeah, so I'm worried about what that's going to happen, where that's going to lie for these guys. But outside of that, I think I don't think there's any way to look at this and not see it's a good deal for the league. It's more money than I thought they'd have to pay for it. I think Vergara doubled his money. Is that what it was? $35 million and sold for around 70, if we believe the figures out there. So Jorge Vergara got to double his money. Now, granted, he threw money down the drain as well, but not $35 million. He didn't throw $35 million down the drain.
No, probably not. I'd be curious to see if more people show up in the stands this season. I mean, the marketing is going to be a disaster. That's just going to be.
How do you market it? How do you market it?
And I can't imagine MLS is going to dump
free
a lot
at last. Thank Lord Almighty, free at last. Is that how you market it?
Again, I wonder if people will show up as sort of look, we're entering a new era. Thank God we can kind of move on. Not a lot more, but if they get to 10,000, I think we could all sort of say, okay, well, that's some progress. 304, you're on the air.
Hey guys,
what's up? Who's this?
Hey, this is Matt.
Where are you from, Matt?
West Virginia.
All right. What's up, Matt?
Hey, I wondered if you guys heard the news about Jason Collins, the NBA player, is gay. He's gonna play for the I think it's the Brooklyn Nets.
Yes.
Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I did hear that. That's great news. I mean,
yeah, and I was wondering what your opinion on that was. I think he may have been inspired a little by Robbie Rogers, and also there's the NFL player who's coming out.
Yeah,
this story bothers me. It doesn't bother me. Listen, I love that there's more gay guys that are going to be playing professional sports. I love that.
There are gay guys playing professional sports.
Okay, whatever.
You mean out.
Gay men. Okay. But what bothers me is this is the new soccer doesn't get its respect issue. Because everyone wants to point out when someone says first major professional. Whoa, hey, we're major. Look at us. We're major. Robbie Rogers was first.
I don't give a crap. Soccer's time.
Jared, you're making a very good point.
No.
On SportsCenter today, they said the top 4 sports leagues in the country, this is the first one, and they didn't say the top 5.
That's fine. Look, this is the reality of it, and I think this is Jared's point. Stop getting upset about this. Soccer's time will come. MLS's time will come, and if it doesn't, then that's on MLS. That's on soccer. We didn't do a good enough job. I don't care. Look, Robbie Rogers was a groundbreaking situation. He was a trailblazer. He did something no one else had done in a sport that is a nationally competitive, team sport. He did that. I mean, it doesn't matter if we say top 4, top 5. If we're going to draw a line in this, who cares about this arbitrary nonsense? Robbie Rogers knows that what he did was great. People who watch soccer know what he did was great. The people who are in the gay community and are behind this movement know that what Robbie Rogers did was
if you don't think it's a bigger deal that Jason Collins will be playing as the out gay man in NBA or Michael Sam will be playing out gay man in football in the NFL, if you really don't think those are bigger stories, I'm sorry, you don't have a realistic view of the United States sports culture. It's huge.
Look, this is the thing the soccer fans want to say, and not all of them, painting with a broad brush here, but a lot of soccer fans want to say, well, soccer is the place where it was most likely to happen. I mean, we are more open and
we're a sport of outcasts.
Yeah, there's that, right? So, and if that's the case, then let's not get upset on the other end when Jason Collins is going into a much more restrictive, closed, old boy type network or old type boy type league that doesn't that isn't as open, and the fans aren't going to be accepting.
Forget even about that, Jason. Think about the dollars involved at the NFL level versus the dollars involved at the MLS level. The risk being taken by the team that could potentially risk or reward that could be taken by the team that takes Michael Sam. There's so much more on the line monetarily for players or teams to make the decisions in the NFL than it is with MLS. I don't want to make Robbie Rogers sound like it's not a big deal. Robbie Rogers is a huge deal, but they're not on the same plateau.
Okay, well, they're paying the NBA's or the Nets, and I don't know how long he's going to be there. They have 10-day contracts in the NBA.
Yeah.
Jason Collins is going to be making more money than Robbie Rogers. Michael Sam, if he gets drafted, which is not a foregone conclusion yet, would be making more money than Robbie Rogers. I don't think money has anything to do with it. I mean,
I think money has everything to do with it when you think about how big the story is. The story is equally big to the amount of dollars and money being involved in the sport that they're playing in.
The story is big because the sports are popular. That's in a large sense. When MLS is getting 0.5 ratings, we can't really get upset that Robbie Rogers is not being recognized on the same level as Michael Sam and Jason Collins. I appreciate the call, Matt. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, guys.
I mean, look, again, the day will come. And when MLS is one of the big four, if you want to get there, if you care about that sort of thing, if you're about measuring out every single aspect of, I mean, this is one of my fundamental problems with soccer fans is we cannot just be part of everything that's happening and say, look, I honestly want soccer to be bigger and better. I want more people to care about it. I want there to be big television ratings because it means more money and it means a better league. I want all of those things. But I'm not going to sit here and get upset that the NBA gets recognition that soccer doesn't when I understand the reality of the landscape.
I guess it's kind of the same thing as I feel about when it's the football isn't football, it's hand egg, that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter to me. Listen, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter if we're first to have a openly gay player. What matters to me is that we do it better. That when we go to the stadiums, our fans cheer that player. They don't yell out anything. That we act like it's a big deal, but we know it's important, and we treat the person with respect. Be the better fan. Don't worry about being the first sport or the first team or anything like that.
It's that hipster element, and it's that whole. If you're a soccer fan if you're a soccer fan, you can't be a fan of anything else. Like that's some kind of weird rule that exists. And I don't get that. I happen to love an NFL team. I happen to like baseball an awful lot. I don't feel like I need to lock myself in. And nobody should, because if this sport is going to get to that level that everybody else seems to want it to get to, then it's going to have to be a part of the larger sports thing. We're not England. It's not going to be soccer and soccer and soccer. It's going to be the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, soccer, NHL to a certain extent. Those things are all going to have to mix together, and soccer is just going to have to take its place alongside. 9:05, you're on the air.
Oh, hey guys, it's Vince.
Vince from Toronto. What's up, man?
Hey guys, I just have a question for you guys. I just caught the show right now, so I don't know if you guys have already brought it up, but. I wanted to get your opinion on the deal with that youngster at Sporting Kansas City, Erik Palmer Brown. Apparently, Juventus keeps making offers, and SKC keeps rejecting them. I want to know, as you guys, with two minds, with the U.S. national team and with MLS, how you feel about a youngster perhaps going overseas.
Okay. First of all, we have youngsters overseas. I'm not going to project Erik Palmer Brown to be anything but a 16-year-old prospect. That's what he is right now. He's a talented young player. I'm not going to say that if he went to Juventus, he'd become a national team star. Not going there, because I think that's irresponsible and ridiculous, and we have no idea what kind of player he'll end up being. The second thing I'll say is, as far as I know, he can't go until he's 18. If they want to make offers and KC wants to put something in place, that's fine, unless his parents pick up and move to Turin for work outside of his soccer career. He can't go until he's 18. So I don't know what we're talking about here necessarily. Now, if you want to get into, is it good for Erik Palmer Brown to go to Juventus? There are a couple of different areas there, Jared.
Yeah, I think one of the things what this story in particular got me thinking about is the role that MLS is starting to play in youth development, whereas there's this time in the 90s that I know I was very, very aware of the fact that Jovan Karowski was in Manchester, Kenny Cooper was in Manchester, Giuseppe Rossi was in, I think it was Parma at the time. There was youth guys that were developing over there. Outside of the young kid at Barcelona right now, I can't even think of a young American that's in an academy system overseas right now.
There are a bunch, actually. There's some in Germany. There's a kid at Real Madrid as well. That
Is Junior Flores considered a youth player still?
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
so there's Junior Flores over there as well. But I don't think we prioritize it or make as big of a deal about it anymore, because you could just as easily become a world-class player coming up through a MLS development academy. I think what's important is that you're playing, and the only place to play competitively at a high level for a good portion of the last 20 years was overseas. And now I kind of dig the fact there's guys coming, and then I like that even more that Kansas City is saying no. Maybe they're just saying no because the price isn't where they want it. I'm sure they'll say yes eventually.
If it's 7 figures for a 16-year-old, I don't know how you turn that down, unless you are. If it is, I mean, again, this is all rumor and speculation. But I guess in a big picture sense, you could add some symbolic elements to this. If if they sold Erik Palmer Brown to Juventus at 16 and whatever, if that was even possible, I guess that reflects back on MLS. But at some point, it's going to just be, this is what MLS does. We are just part of the rest of the world, and it doesn't need to be prove yourself. I mean, Kansas City has no obligation to prove themselves as an academy to anybody. If they think Erik Palmer Brown is going to be a good pro and they want to keep him, that's their right to keep him. They don't have to sell him as sort of like this, again, this sort of like fly the flag for MLS, sell Erik Palmer Brown, right?
So that brings me up to an interesting pick your poison that I have for you on this.
Let's do it.
Poison. Which is the better format for MLS? Selling young players at 17, 18 years old, bringing them back in their late 20s, or keeping young players and selling players like Omar Gonzalez and Graham Zusi when they're 25 to overseas? Which is the better format? Because one way or another, you're going to sell players, right? Every team, every league has to sell players. Sure. Should MLS be selling players young or getting something out of them and selling them when they're older?
As a general rule, I'd like to see young talent playing here. So I'd like to see guys sticking around and then leaving when they get their opportunity, when they're proving themselves at the top level and getting the opportunity and giving MLS some good years before they go on. Because then I know that they have had quality professional years. If you sell a young player, an 18-year-old player now, he could go to Europe and fizzle out for whatever reason. I mean, he could do that.
It's a tough choice because here's the thing. By selling guys later into their 20s, the league will make more money per player. These guys are going to be worth more likely at that time because, like you said, they're established. They can play, and scouts are able to see them playing at a professional level.
Thanks for the call, Vince. There's a significant premium on youth. There's a significant.
But on the flip side of that, you are the downside is you could be selling guys probably a little bit cheaper but younger, but they have the chance to play world-class football earlier.
Yeah, but again, I mean, at some point, and maybe we're not there yet, and that's why we're still concerned about this, just as we were when Michael Bradley left Italy and when Clint Dempsey came back from England. At some point, we just have to sort of accept that this is a case-by-case thing. Every club's going to do their own thing and stop worrying about it on some grand American scale. Now, I know that MLS is a single entity, and everything MLS does is reflected back on all things MLS. Just if one team sells a player, somehow that's on all of MLS. When eventually we're going to have to start just saying, okay, look, Kansas City's got a plan for Erik Palmer Brown. Their plan is their plan. They can do whatever they want with him as a player. And then, on the flip side of that is, whether or not we care if Erik Palmer Brown goes to Italy as sort of some American representation. I don't know. Again, this is part of our inferiority complex, right? It's all tied into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I kind of like the chance to guys go over early. I think the more guys you send over early, the more likelihood you're going to have that one or that two that really, really pan out. I think you got to take some shots at the dartboard, and one of those things, darts is eventually going to hit a bullseye.
You can't put that in as a rule, though. Like MLS can't stand
a rule.
No. But I mean, what you're suggesting is a fine idea, but it doesn't take into account the individual decisions being made at the club level and the player's family and all of those things. I mean,
do you think that Clint Dempsey hit as high of a peak as he could have by going over at 24, 25 as he might have if he gone over earlier? It's a hypothetical. I realize you can't answer the question.
I don't know. I really don't. But again, the issue here is that you can't put a policy in that says we should sell players young. You can have that. Listen, you can make that decision behind closed doors. Hey, we're going to try to push this agenda. Okay, but okay. I guess essentially what you're saying is what is going to build our brand better, right?
Yeah, or make the league more money.
Well, more money. That's a good question. 413, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, man? Who's this?
Not a lot. This is Jim. Called last week. Wished you happy birthday. We'll do so again.
All right. Double birthday.
I had an unrelated question, but I gotta say, I think the league's probably going to keep pulling moves like this, holding on to young players until we feel a bit more secure. But I got to say, on an international level, sometimes being a feeder league is a sign of progress. But my question, though, is you guys are familiar with the Jacksonville Armada making their announcement, right?
Yes.
Yeah. An interesting report came out of a Jacksonville publication. Apparently, the entry fee for them was between $1.5 and $3 million. The Armada ownership group was able to pay that fee without any public assistance or help from the league. But I was wondering if you guys thought that was an appropriate entry fee for America's second division, because like being a feeder league, we're eventually going to be judged by our own minor league on an international level. So,
is it an appropriate? I mean, it is what it is. I know that there are standards in place. U.S. Soccer has standards in place for ownership groups on the second division, which I think is a good development. But
what's interesting to me is that it's 40 to 50 times smaller than the entry fee for MLS. That seems a bit just like a bit of a jump, that there's that much of a difference between buying into MLS and buying into NASL. But it's a second division. They're starting out. They don't have a lot of history. Well, the new version doesn't have a lot of history behind it. So I kind of get in there, and it's probably not as secure as MLS is as well. But it does sound kind of small time when you hear guys are buying franchises for $1 million.
Look, as long as there is a vetting process, and Trevor's got some details on those standards. You have to have a line of credit. You have to be able to guarantee that you can pay certain costs 3 to 5 years into the future. This is sort of like, a hedge against the problem that American soccer has, where teams pop up and disappear. And for me, that is one of the most crucial things that MLS does, is get teams into the league and get them established and keep them around. And every time a team dies, this is why I'm so worried about DC United. Every time a team dies, you do a little bit more damage to soccer's ability to be a big time sport in this country. And as long as I don't care about 1.5 million or 3 million or whatever the number is, I just want you to be sure that you can be around, that you're going to stick around. Okay. Now, that's hard to guarantee because you don't know how many people are going to come out to your stadium. You don't know what your stadium deal is going to be. There are a lot of different elements to running a soccer club that can pop up and cause real havoc. But again, I just want these teams to last. And if NASL has established that this is the fee that we need to feed back into the rest of the league to keep everybody afloat, to make sure that we don't end up with dead club on top of dead club, then really I don't care about what the number is. I just want that to be the case.
All right. No, I totally agree, and I kind of left out a bunch of the league standards, like you pointed out. Like, for example, if you're president or so, you yourself have to be worth a certain amount of money.
Right. But, there's a personal, there's a personal level of wealth that has to be held by the lead guy in the group, right?
Exactly. Well, I appreciate the feedback, man. Thanks for answering my question, and happy birthday, man.
All right.
I got another new possible name for the Chivas franchise once they rebrand. How about the Long Beach Longshoremen? I'm just saying. It's a big major port city. It's a major port on the western side of the United States. It's in LA. People know what Long Beach is.
You know when you say Long Beach Longshore, when you say longshoremen in LA, I think Heat. For some reason, isn't there some longshoreman activity happening in Heat? Maybe not. Maybe I got that wrong.
Can't remember.
And
they do go to a port though. Remember, and they look at him. They see Al Pacino in the middle of the port, and he's up on the tower.
That's probably what it is. They got the ID. They make them by them being in the and then Reservoir Dogs, which is like Anyway, random hookup on Twitter. Our players with EU passports still go, and he's got Packwood and Pelosi as examples. But without any EU passport, there are only a couple that go that go before they're 18 years old. Right. So if you have an EU passport, those kids are the ones that are going young for the most. I mean, not going young. Those are the ones who have an easier path to get there.
But Juventus is a top 5, top 6 team in Europe. I mean, they're one of the best teams in Europe over the last 20 years. I mean, this is the team of Zidane, it's the team of Del Piero. I mean, it's a amazing team. And what I'm saying is that there used to be Americans like at Manchester United. We don't have Americans at elite teams at the youth level. Pelosi, maybe he'll work out. We'll see. But there's not really Americans. And don't say the Arsenal kid's name because he hasn't even claimed for America.
Okay, I'm well. First of all, he was quote unquote developed here in a lot of ways, which I think matters more than whether or not he plays for the U.S. But if you want to care about that more than anything else,
I only care about who can put the shirt on.
But again, I don't understand why that's an important. Why is it important to have Americans at Manchester United, Juventus, Liverpool, Arsenal, Bayern Munich? Why is that important?
That's like saying if you're a model, why is it important to be on the Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover? That's where the attention is. That's where the hottest babes go.
What impact does that have on American soccer? To have a couple of kids in the academies at those clubs, what impact does it have?
It gives them the pedigree of some of the best players in the world.
if those players become the best players in the world, fine. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about having kids at academies with big clubs. I don't know what that does for. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's bad.
So you're saying that the Palmer Brown, if he stays with Kansas City, is exactly the same kind of development system as if he was a youth player at Manchester United.
No,
there's no advantage.
That's not what I said. You didn't bring.
Why do you even have this question? If it's not equal, then why do you even have to ask the question?
Because that's not what you said. You didn't mention anything about the quality of the academy. And I would say that it's whatever you think about Kansas City, I would say that it's not necessarily right to assume that Erik Palmer Brown at Juventus has a greater likelihood of becoming a world-class player than Erik Palmer Brown at Reading FC.
I agree with that.
Okay, but that gets back to my point. It's important to have these kids at the big clubs because they have the best academies, or because it's somehow
academies, attention. And listen, if you got to play, if you're a midfielder, young midfielder, and every day you're practicing with Pirlo, you're not telling me that's going to be a better exposure for you?
Is that what's going to happen? You're going to practice with Pirlo every day?
If you were a midfielder in the 90s playing for Juventus, I mean, you had, or 2000s, you had that chance.
If we're picking out those clubs that have a reputation for bringing players through their academy, and you're saying that we want kids at Barcelona because of their track record, then yeah, I'm on board with that. Yeah, hell yeah. Let's get some American kids to the best academies in the world. That wasn't what you were painting, the picture you were painting for me. You were just naming big clubs and saying we should have kids there. I don't know that always guarantees those kids are going to get the best education and development process
I don't think it guarantees anything. I think it increases the likelihood, though.
Okay. And how many kids does Manchester United bring through the academy to the senior team in a 5-year span?
4 or 5? I mean, there was a rash of them in the 90s, and now it's less and less.
Okay. Yeah, 732. You're on the air.
This is Taiwan from New Jersey.
What's up, Taiwan?
This is about the Kansas City kid.
Yeah, I like that. Kansas City kid. It's like it makes him like a Western, like a hero from the Western. Yeah, go ahead, man.
If I'm right, I think Serie A, our teams, they like loan their players out to lower division teams first before they even get first team minutes.
There's a lot of that. Yeah, that's true.
And if you look at Juventus roster, I don't think they have academy kids on their roster, their first team roster.
Yeah, I don't want to pay. I don't want to call Juventus out as a team that doesn't use their academy in that sense. I mean, that's not really fair. And a lot of teams, and here's the other point. Thanks for the call, Taiwan. I appreciate it, man. A lot of teams, whether they're big or not, don't use their academy to produce their own senior players. You use their academy as a revenue stream. We're going to get a kid. He's going to be a star. He's going to play in a couple of international tournaments for whatever country. He'll get picked out, and somebody else will pay money for him. So
and that's okay too, because he's still probably going to make it. His first leap from that development program is probably going to be bigger than the leap up to Kansas City's senior team.
Okay, 623 on the air.
Hey, this is Steve in Phoenix. Shifting gears, I'm trying to get your guys' opinion on what the Western Conference is going to look like at the end of the year. I mean, LA hasn't really made really amazing signings. They got that Brazilian forward. They got that Canadian forward. They have a few homegrowns. Real Salt Lake doesn't have Christ anymore. Is Portland the team to beat? Is that where it's all going to go through?
I think it would be fair to say that Portland's the team to beat right now. They finished first in the West last year. Of course they are.
I think in addition to that, I think we're kidding ourselves if we don't think Seattle can be a good team this year. I mean,
believe that, yes.
I think they've gotten rid of a cancer in Eddie Johnson, a locker room cancer, but they still have a lot of high-profile players that they paid a lot of money for that haven't really shown that they can gel. So they have to prove something, but they've got an amazing roster up there. They just got to get their stuff together. In terms of LA, I think LA, your point is perfectly valid. They didn't splash cash and bring in a lot of signings. I think they brought in the right signings, though. I think they made very, very shrewd and calculated signings this year in that they knew there's a couple places they had to move around. They needed the sandpaper, not the chisel. They just needed to smooth some stuff out.
Yeah, I'm with. In fact, thinking about it, LA didn't make any big moves, but they were still pretty good last year. So you carry them over as, you might not get the exact same performances out of everybody, and you're going to have Donovan out, missing for some time, but there's
Gonzalez.
And Gonzalez, right? But whether or not they can fill the holes might determine their whole season. You've got a question in Utah with Kassar and whether or not he can get the same job done that Christ did. You have a question. You have a question in Colorado as they change coaches, and a
huge question mark there.
Just retired coach. As far as I know, interim or not, it's Mascheroni at least to start the season because guess what? We have 2 weeks left. Seattle's questions are just related to that chemistry issue and their failings down the stretch. What kind of player is Clint Dempsey going to be? Because it's not going well in Fulham.
I'll tell you, in terms of stability, the East is entering this season in a much better position than the West. If you think about the New York Red Bulls, they had hardly any turnover whatsoever. They're coming back almost exactly as strong as they were last year. Same thing can be said for Kansas City. Same thing. DC United looks better in a better position than they were last year. I think New England Revolutions can really benefit from a year of maturation on those young players. Losing Juan Agudelo is a big deal, though. But I think that the East has a lot more things to be positive about going into the season from a stability standpoint.
Most teams in the East have either improved or stood pat. Okay, and you could
Toronto
say FC. Well, that's what I'm saying. The bad teams have improved. DC is going to be improved. They might not win anything. They may not make the playoffs, but they have improved, at least on paper. So we know Toronto FC has improved. You mentioned New England. I think Columbus has some questions. Just whether or not
definitely questions there.
Do it there. That's the one team I would pick out. Kansas City's going to be good. You know they'll be good. Montreal, a couple of questions in Montreal. Not positive.
How do you feel about Houston though?
Houston standing pat as they do.
Super unsexy. I mean, it's just
that's fine.
It's Houston. And that's the only thing you say about it. They're gonna be Houston. They're gonna be in it. As long as you give them a ticket to ride, they're gonna be there. I mean, they're gonna be somehow they're gonna play spoiler to someone sometime this year.
Yes, they are going to do what they always do, and I'm not going to bet on them getting into the playoffs in that fourth or fifth spot. Chicago, okay, Yallop actually makes them a better team, if you ask me, and they should be
signing Clint Mathis as assistant coach as well.
Yeah, you can't do wrong with Cletus. So on the whole, the East has gotten better. In the West, it's more again LA standing pat.
I'm not gonna say any of them got worse, but there's just question marks.
Yes, right. You can't look at those teams and say, well, they definitely got worse, but you can look at them and say, we don't know what the coaching situation is going to bring to the table. We don't know what, and that's true in Vancouver and RSL and maybe San Jose, although you
got to see how San Jose rebounds from that Crest situation.
Man, that's hard. That's hard. Appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot.
All right.
So there you go.
Have you even watched preseason MLS? I have not watched a second of preseason MLS. I'm tired of wasting my time every preseason. I always feel like I make some kind of assumption and it's never right. I just decide I'm not watching it anymore.
No, I have watched like 3 seconds because I saw Robbie Keane's goal today.
Are we doing our listeners a disservice by not caring about it?
If you come to this show looking for breakdown of preseason MLS action, you have come to the wrong place and you should know better. Because that's not what we do. And look, I'm not saying that there's not something that can be gleaned. Certainly you can look for first 11 and see what coaches are thinking in terms of their lineups. But outside of that, what happens on the field is just, it's worthless if you ask me.
Yeah, I can't. All I can tell you is that I watched a beautiful. Did you see that GIF of Robbie Keane chip shot from 40 out last night against the Galaxy 2?
That's what I'm saying. I've seen. That's the only thing I've seen.
Listen, I'll watch a great goal from anywhere, but I'm not trying to. What am I going to learn from it? Robbie Keane's a good striker.
Robbie Keane's going to start up top of the LA Galaxy. Really? Is that what's going to happen?
Breaking news.
Is he going to score some goals for them? I think.
Listen, I am stoked to see that Samuel guy or Samuel. I'm not sure how they say his name over there, but.
Samuel.
What is it?
Samuel. I think it's Samuel.
It's like almost sounds like Samuel L. Jackson.
Something like
you're like stressing that second L kind of almost. Yeah, Samuel.
I don't have to check. We have to check with the Brazilians in the mix. All right. A couple of things. We only got a couple of minutes left. I definitely want to get to them. One, is it a problem at the MLS referees strike? This is the first year that they've been unionized, and there are reports
already striking.
They're in CBA negotiations with the league or with PRO with Pro, that group that was formed.
Yeah.
So they're negotiating. There are reports that some of the referees have been threatened with retribution because they've unionized. Like, you're not going to get league assignments because you unionize, which is really crappy. And
that's messed up.
Yeah, no, it is
messed up. But are you even worried that there'll be a drop off to backup referees?
Yes, I know MLS referees are not the best, and I know people love to bag on MLS referees, but there's going to be a drop if you bring in replacement.
The only thing I think there'd be a drop off is the conditioning. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
That's big. That's a big part of refereeing a game. If you can't keep up to keep your eyes on the play, how
we have referees at MLS? They can't make the call from 10 yards away. What's the difference being 20 yards away?
I just think it's going to be worse. I'm sorry. I don't have any like. I don't have any.
I'm not saying I don't want MLS referees to get a fair pay and a fair income for what they do. That's fine and well. I'm just saying that I just don't think the drop off to a backup crew would be that like. I don't know.
By the way, just to make this clear, they have not striked yet. They have voted to authorize a strike if things don't go their way. That's essentially what the players did during the last round of CBAs, and what we'll probably see again in this next round of CBAs. It's sort of a shot across the MLS bow. That's all it is. All right, moving on.
It's the equivalent in an action movie when the guy puts the gun to his head and only pulls the hammer back.
Yeah,
like it's like and sometimes you'll hear him do it 2 or 3 times. Like, but it's just to set the stage.
Yes, something. Yes, right, exactly. Click. Yeah. All right. Don Garber, in his post Chivas USA purchase press conference. By the way, he teased the way I listened into this press conference. Kind of like 3/4 of my attention. He was addressing Chivas USA issues clearly, but he actually set the reporters who were on the call up to ask about expansion. Like he was hoping somebody, like he wanted somebody to ask on this.
So he's like a master fencer, like he knows how to parry and how to advance and how to play defense.
So he's talking about Chivas USA and the bad situation there and how the league failed and blah, blah, blah. And then he says it, and I will give
look at this over here.
Right. So at the very end of the conference, Leave Bird asked the question, where do things stand? Don Garber specifically identified Atlanta, which is no surprise whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's no. By the way, Archer is made in Atlanta, so we need to get some MLS Archer combining there. Second of all, he gave a lot of love to Minneapolis in this little quick chat. More than I was expecting to hear. There have been rumors, or there's been reports they have talked to the Twins ownership group or somebody involved, the Minnesota United group, which is the NASL team. I just didn't realize that they were going to start talking it up like and I'm not nothing against Minneapolis. It'd be a fine place to have a team.
No, I think of it the same way as you and I always talk about when a general manager of a team says this guy is not for sale and we've heard nothing, or the other team says we have no interest in this player. He knows that he's trying to get he's either trying to spur on something in Minneapolis or silence people that really don't have a chance by just placating them.
Or he is talking up Minneapolis to get
leverage Sacramento or leverage San Antonio or leverage St. Louis.
Yes, where St. Louis, you got to get your act together, people. Get. I don't know what.
There's not a guy amongst us when the girl we want won't pay attention to us. You bring a different girl to the party. You bring a different girl at the party, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, that guy's not available.
That's every '80s teen movie. That's every '80s teen movie.
Yes.
Prom scene. There's always a dance scene or a prom scene or something.
Is that Can't Buy Me Love? Is that what Can't Buy Me? Is that something that happens in Can't Buy Me Love?
It's in all of them. Actually, it goes the other way or too. Like the girl is totally into the guy. He's giving her no attention. She brings another guy to make him jealous. Got to make him jealous. Don Garber's making him jealous. They're making him.
I'm trying to think. Hey, what was that? There's a Freddie Prinze Jr. movie where it's that exact dang thing.
That would be a '90s one, right?
I know, but it's still I can't remember what that one was.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what it is. All right, a couple of moments here, just sort of an update, and I'm just mentioning it so people go look. The DC United Stadium situation hasn't really moved along that much. We had reports that we had some renderings, which were very cool, but they don't mean anything. We had reports that 80% of the land was in place to be swapped for another building that the government owns. There's a candidate for DC mayor, and the chair of the Finance Committee, Economic Development Committee, I think is what it's called, who does not like this idea of swapping this building for the land. So this could be a problem. Just go find it, look it up. Last thing here I'll mention. We've got a Best Soccer Show Fantasy League up and running, ready to go when the season starts. Jared, are you going to participate this year?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it's the code is 806.
I feel like a sellout if I don't join.
I know. Well, just go and be dead weight.
Is it? Well, hold on. Is it head to head or is it table? Because I hate head to head.
I know. People ask me about it. I'm not doing head to head this year. This is classic.
I hate that.
8069-1392. It is through the league's website, so that's where you go and find it. Fantasy. My team name is Work Your Glutes, so go find me on there. I froze up. I gotta have something good, and I froze up, and that's what I came up with. Not bad, right?
I think it's something pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's how you get pink eyes, looking at glutes.
All right, that's gonna do it. Ratings and reviews. I'm running out of time rapidly. Email show@bestsoccershow.com. J Rodius on Twitter. What else? Anything? Nothing? Anything? No.
That's it.
Bye.
Only the